Hey there, it's Brian. Today I will be walking you through some of my thought process around when I'm trying to scout out a location for forest therapy. Um, I will put out the disclaimer that I think anywhere in nature could be a place where you are able to apply some of the principles and process of a forest therapy session. However, there could be areas where it's better. Um, so that's really what I'm looking at today, thinking about the participants that I will be um, having attend in a future session, and what may be is good and what may be better in the space in the nature places that we have access. Today I'm in Chester County, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be visiting a few local spots that I'm pretty familiar with. I typically would hike here, so really just trying to shift my perspective from a great hiking place to what might be a great forest therapy location. So glad to have you. I hope this is interesting and informative for any of those of you who are trying to think about the ways that you may show up in the forest therapy session of your own. So yeah, great to see you. Okay, so here we are. We're starting at our first site. This is State Line Woods Preserve. And I think right off the bat, you'll start to see that you have a really nice arrival space. You have a parking lot here that can welcome your visitors, which is very kind of peaceful on its own. And so as people arrive, they're already getting into the mode of what you want them to experience within the forest therapy session. You can see a nice orientation spot. You can kind of give your participants the overview of the day and the session that you'll be walking them through. One thing that I also need to think about within this space at State Line is you can see that there's immediately a path that just kind of leads off into a field. And so I don't think that's a deal breaker, but I do think you have to understand, how you're going to deliver maybe some mindful movement as you walk, closer to the forest. Maybe think about how you're starting to slow people down in a way that's not just that's not just running into the woods, right? You're thinking about how it's more intentional, creating that pacing until you can get off into where you're going to be doing your session. So just kind of a thought. And I think here as well, if you're not familiar with a place, you're going to get to a sign like this and you're potentially not going to be sure where to go, right? So again, this is also gives you the importance of making sure you know where you are as you bring your clients through a forest therapy session, right? You want to be grounded in the place where you're creating the experience and giving them a real thought out way to slow down and really be part of the nature process. One thing that I really love about this wide trail is, right, you have the ability to bring a group through in a way that, it's very orientating. It's able to direct people to where they're going to go. They can really see as nature's building. There's also the curves and the different types of things they're experiencing as they're getting in closer to the woods. So there's definitely some good balance here where, yes, you're not into the forest as of yet, but you're really kind of building some of that anticipation and you're thinking about the journey that people are taking, right? It's more than just, get there, do it, and be back. You're kind of building up into that sense of really just how everybody belongs. So as we've started to walk down that trail, not even 5 minutes we've gotten here to this kind of transition into the forest. And I think that's a really important moment when you think about the path that you're taking. You want to make people feel as if, right, they're entering something. There's a moment of transition that really kind of, again, slows them down even more. It really starts for them to be able to take notice of all these details being present in the space. So I think this, again, really aids into how you're going to have the session within now the woods, right, where you're getting the canopy, the fighting sides, the things that really are going to help within the mindfulness practice of your forest therapy session. There's also just a beautiful spot here for gathering, right? It's right off the trail. You're not having to really make a lot of space or crowd if you do have other people that are walking through the park. So here I think is really important just to be able to stop, really work through what the process is going to be, and potentially even start one of your first invitations here, right? So gathering spots, super important. I think another really nice feature of these woods is you have this creek that runs through, and you really add the water element to pull you inward even more, right? You still are starting to be immersed just that much more when you have that blue therapy kind of pulling you through. So definitely something to think about. On the flip side, you can kind of see that this trail gets a little bit rocky as it goes around the creek, right? So if you were to have anything that you were worried about from an accessibility perspective, you might want to just take note when there's areas like this that you have to transit over. Not really super rough terrain, but enough that it could cause some type of issue for anyone that's having that kind of ability. Yeah. Just noting another really nice gathering spot, right, where you can pull off the trail. There's even a bench if someone needs a rest, right? And then you can continue on your journey down this trail. So really nice to think about being able to step in, kind of, again, giving yourself that ability to have flexibility if you need it within the trail. Here's a wonderful one. Just happens at this time of the year, right? We're getting this beautiful smell from the honeysuckle, and I think this is, not here all the time, but it's beautiful when you have something like this that's fragrant, that allows people to really interact with even more parts of the environment that you're in. Here we are with a really nice option here as well, where you get multiple paths. So if you're stopping here, you have a nice gathering place. You're also having multiple paths for people to choose. So if you give an invitation to go feel and touch things, right? People can go and see and feel different things, and really go at their own, kind of choose your own adventure a little bit. Another great feature here is that you have facilities down there, so restrooms, right? You have the ability, if you really need to go and you don't want to use the facilities, you have that option, but also this nice table where you can set up, right, your last invitation around this area, and then have a nice tea set up here for people to enjoy. So lots of great options here in this area, lots of beautifulness and nature. Let's see what's next. All right, so we jumped over the PA Delaware line, and we're here now in Auburn Valley State Park, the Yorkland Bridge Trail. One of the things that you'll notice real quick with this one is that there's a lot of parking, right? So that's great when you think about having places for people to park. On the flip side, you're also looking at a fee area. So just something to think about. This particular location is nice because it actually has a payment center where you can use your credit card. But we are not talking $0 here, so that's good. Another nice thing with this one is that you have some facilities right here at the parking lot. So if you're needing to stop and pause before you go, you're able to do so. The last thing I'll note here is that we are next to a couple roads, and so a lot of times what that will happen is you'll get road noise. Not necessarily a good or bad thing. If you're looking for something more peaceful, obviously it's going to disrupt that, but it's also something else for people to notice on the flip side, right? So if you think about how the sound of humans is also in some ways nature sound. Something nice to notice here is this pathway is a super wide path, right? So if you have a group that's traveling through, you're going to be able to all walk together, and it's very accessible, right? So if you have somebody that has needs that they can't walk on uneven terrain, right? Something like this is going to be able to really provide a nice way for them to still participate. One thing that's nice is you do get the creek that flows through the park here. We're up on the bridge right now. There is a path down there that you can access if you want to include that in part of your therapy session. But it's nice to have the sounds of the water, right? This really gives you, there's some nice areas down here to gather as well. So logistically, it's not like you're right in accessing the water, but you can include that in your therapy sessions. Something else that's worth noting with a location like this, lots of ample parking, but actually so many parking places, right? So sometimes it's confusing where you're actually meeting your participants, and I think that's just worth noting, that you need to be very explicit about where you're parking. As well here, as you can kind of see, things are disjointed a little bit where you're walking on pavement. And again, you're still surrounded by nature. But if you think about how that will affect your experience, it's worth noting. Just noting how really nice this path is, right? So again, if you're thinking about accessibility, you still have the availability to walk through nature. But also a lot of parks you might find something like this where you have multiple modes, right? You have the availability to switch back and forth depending on how things are going with your session. This one is nice, it walks along the creek, versus this one kind of walks up into the trees and canopy. Probably the last thing I'll note here is just what is your style, right? What is it that you want to do as far as taking people through the experience? Do you want an out and back? Do you want a loop, right? Here would be a great way to do a loop. Maybe you have a hub and spoke. This one might not be so conducive to hub and spoke, right? Because you have this path running through and not really a lot of ability to go into the actual forest canopy. So just something to think about when you're trying to choose. You can see the difference between this park and State Line. So, okay, so what we've done is jumped back into Pennsylvania. We're here at White Clay Creek Preserve, just to kind of give a different type of feel to what we're seeing as far as the park goes. So before I get too much into the visuals, one thing I will note is something to think about is cell phones. Certainly you don't want to be on your phone while you're doing a session, but you want to be accessible. So if your participants have an issue finding the park, or there's an issue, right, you want to be reachable. So just something to keep in mind as you think about the places that you're going to end up doing your sessions, right? A lot of nature doesn't have cell signal, and that's just something to be aware of. So here at White Clay Creek Preserve, we have a nice, pretty wide single track, but it's purely going to be in and out here. And you're going to see there's not really any availability to go off path here and explore, right? You get some small little offshoots that might take you down into the actual creek that's down there. But for the most part, you're going to be working with just from the edges of the trail. Very immersed, wonderful canopy, but certainly a certain style that you'll need to portray here from a exploratory in and out type of session. Another thing to be aware of with a trail like this is that you have a lot of obstacles. right? Which typically can be navigated, but just keeping again in your mind your audience. It looks like a smooth trail, and then all of a sudden you have roots to come. But also, with the creek being right there, what ages are you applying to? And so thinking about, is it safe? Will you be able to keep everybody on the trail? If they fall, will they go into the water? So just some things to think about for sure. Not a showstopper. So one really great feature in this park is the creek, and you do have some points where you can access it, and it really gives you a sense of peace and ability to integrate the sound of water, the touch, the feel of water, the coldness into your therapy session. So there you have it. I think hopefully those tips are helpful when you think about how you are creating an experience for your clients, for your participants in your forest therapy sessions. I think, just 3 parks that are kind of completely different, that still give access to nature in different ways. Really just being thoughtful about what it is you're trying to achieve, what's right for, again, the participants. And yeah, so hopefully this is helpful, and love to do a session with any of you that are watching. If that's of interest, please connect with me, and we'd love to take you through a full forest therapy session at any of these locations, or if you have a favorite one of your own, even thinking about those as well. So hopefully again, yeah, this is helpful, and see you next time.